We'll take questions. So Amit will take 3 questions and you'll have 1 minute each.
Okay.
Yes.
Having the vantage point of not reading the book, just listening to the talk, make 2 small comments in the process of the question. Scholarship in recent years, politics and innovation. You have come across that there is this sort of argument when the Dalit party rules in the heartland, there is deepening of democracy taking place. The same scholars who made this argument also told us that there is deepening of Hindutva taking place these days. Versus Antonio versus Udapai, for instance. So I'm really curious to know that how this thing happened in the context of Dalit politics. Because my own sense is that the strategies of mobilization that was used in these parts of India and in other regions of India were probably different. And if they succeeded in this part, they should have succeeded, say, in South and Tamil Nadu. My own sense is that probably there is a huge anti-Brahminic force into that, which did not exist before. So I was wondering how you have theorized those distinct patterns of mobilization that took place in these regions of Periyar, of Kansiram. When I was reading the book of Badrinarayan Constant's biography, there are classes of Kansiram's strategy, how to mobilize people from bottom up and all of that, that book. So I was really happy to hear all that. The second thing, the second question is in your presentations, again, I will probably be punching at the wrong place. From a presentation, it appeared as if there were no mobilization before all these political parties came into existence. Even the dominant political party, let's say Congress, had its own forms of mobilization. And I also really like in your book that you have seen that distinction. Thank you.
Can you please identify yourself? So anyone who's sort of like asking the question should say the name and like that. Question. Questions? Sir.
Right, sir. Myself, Qatar, I'm a student in comparative studies and evolution of history. So I totally have a different view than the others have. So I give my view. Right? I start with a few things have been mentioned by the 2 critics here. Poverty, just a little touch it, then gone off the track. Right? This is very important. But I go back to initial stages. Initial stage, I'm going to say the society, the human society, the tribals, and then the later development. You don't find these, the Dalits and the castes and all in the tribal. That's number 1. Number 2, the later developments, there's a Buddhist, they don't recognize this. The Christians, they don't recognize it. There's a reason, there's a deep reason, and I won't dwell on that because I know why. And then they came to Islam, and they also don't recognize it. But it is over here. Now, having said that, I would say, who invented this? This is an invention. This is an invention.
What is the question?
The question is, it is an invention which became later as a necessity, and nowadays, when we are talking, it is a necessity of political crooks. This is a necessity of political. So that when I say the poverty, we should. There is been later governments. The social structure should be divided into have and have-nots, poor and the rich, and this is the discrimination.
Sir, may I request?
This is a discrimination.
No.
This is a discrimination.
Sir, straight pointed questions.
Question, what is the question? You want me to say what is the question?
जी.
All right.
नहीं कि आप मतलब आपको कुछ उत्तर देंगे तो उसके लिए सवाल.
Right. Why do we continue to recognize it? Why don't we just finish it?
ठीक है. Any more question? Any more questions? Neeraj.
Actually, on your chronology, I see some tension with why ethnic parties succeed, Chandra. So she stops considering BSP an ethnic party in '98, and for her, the bulk of the mobilization happens in 80s. And then in the 90s, BSP starts becoming a multi-ethnic party. Likewise, Heath and Yadav, they consider Bihar politics, LGB to be a multi-ethnic party because of coalition between Dalits and Ma-Dalits. So I see some tension between their categorization of those parties as multi-ethnic in that timeline where you consider them to be a single ethnic party.
Okay, so whichever question you like, you may answer. Whichever you don't like.
Okay. So let me just sort of go about, sort of just answering this question, which is, look, as long as the majority of the support of the party is coming from the particular jati, and which is a Dalit jati, I'll see it as a multi-ethnic party. That is absolutely correct. And that's the whole point of mobilization, is once you have a large vote share, then you become a very attractive party for strong leaders from other groups who have some local support, who have some varchasva, as we call it in UP, and you can get them and you can make them fight. They may be they're not from your caste, but you have your vote locked up, and that way you can actually, you get votes from other groups, and that's why you start looking like a multi-ethnic party. But essentially, the core support base is still from within a particular. So, for example, even after 1998, you can't say that BSP is not relying primarily on the Jatav vote, or the LJP is not relying on the Dusat vote, right? So that's my answer to that. Mujibul, what was just remind me again the question. Yes. So let me start. Because this is very interesting, because during my own research, I saw the ground shift, and you're right that Professor Pai also has observations on this, which are really important. And what I discovered, which was very, very interesting, is that initially when I spoke to some of the BJP local party workers, especially district heads, they even told me that they had made an effort to include at times, young ambitious boys from Dalit localities, but they just could not hold them. They would not be accepted. Their authority would not be accepted, and a lot of these boys they just went away. What is happening now is really interesting, which is that now there is a much larger mobilization or mobilizing group, class, call it what you want. There are more people who are politically ambitious, educated, have some resources, who want to climb political ladders, even if it's very locally, right? They're not looking to climb the ladder to become an MLA, but even to just be locally influential. And if that means that there is already a BSP worker in the locality, and BJP is a powerful party looking for Dalit workers, then they're happy to work with them. And what is interesting is that you find similar things even in Maharashtra, where ideologically there is a very strong groundwork being done by the Ambedkari movement, which was not a pro-BJP, pro-Hindutva movement. And yet among Mahars, you do see support for Shiv Sena, for BJP, right? And that's just, and what I'm saying is that essentially, political ambition at the local level also matters. We need to take that into account. And these are people who can do both. They can talk about Ambedkar as well as negotiate with the BJP or any other political party. And that sort of bilingualness of in the ideological discourse is something that these people, because they live in the same localities, because they're immersed in this discourse, they're able to do that.
Not necessarily Hinduization of these Dalit groups.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Exactly what you had observed even in your comments. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. Yes, so that doesn't mean that these localities are being saffronized and they're adopting a certain Hindutva discourse. No, they're just you have politically ambitious young men who want to join the BJP. In Maharashtra, even young women. Tamil Nadu also, both young men and women. Fewer women as yet in UP Bihar, but mostly young men. Should we do away with caste? Absolutely. Ambedkar said that long time ago. He also acknowledged this is a human creation. There is nothing. Sorry.
Our Prime Minister does not say that.
Where, so, and the Constitution says caste discrimination should be abolished. It even punishes caste discrimination. But when it comes to practices, our social practices, there's just so much work now that has been there, where people have looked at all kinds of behavior of people, whether it's the job market, the housing market, the marriage market. These social prejudices are sticky. They are around. Caste discrimination is a reality of our life. I wish it weren't. And I'll tell you, the first people to say that it won't would be Dalits themselves, because they are, they carry the burden of that discrimination. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Caste should be done away with, both in terms of principle and practice.
But how can that be when it's a political necessity?
Please. Okay, Wasim, you had a question? No?
Badrinath seems to be suggesting that there is some saffronization of the consciousness. BJP has actually been working on it in the early 80s. Second point is that, when you say that BSP has not delivered anything, I would say, BSP has delivered security to Dalits. I remember my child in UP, even the FIR would not be registered. So I would say that the BSP has completely failed in delivering anything. But the question is, how should the BSP deliver anything further without losing its other ethnic groups which are voting for it? It has the dilemma of balancing out various interest groups. But the most important, I feel, criticism of the BSP would be that it has not delivered on the economic aspects. Neither has in Bihar, the parties in Bihar, AhujaPart and all that. So the question is, why are they not? Because so far they didn't feel that there was any other competition, that they had a captive vote bank. If this captive vote bank, as it is now shifting slowly to the BJP, hopefully there will be some competition to innovate. I'm hoping it will.
Mine is just a supplementary question. The way Hindutva is getting support from among some Dalit groups, my take is it's not so much about saffronization. It is basically the less dominant groups in states like, say, non-Jadavs in Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and other places are voting against these groups, the dominant group, not so much for Hindutva. I know there are some segments of Mahas vote Shiv Sena and BJP, but I would say it's an exception.
Say 1 minute each.
Okay. So, let me just you're right that there is, among Jatavs, there's a segment that votes for the BJP. There is, we see this kind of vote splitting now that's happening. And you're right that also that there are certain non-Jatav groups have been wooed by the BJP. Now, is this actually saffronization? So I'm speculating here, and I think let me sort of speculate. I think, look, the fact is that one interesting thing that is that the rise of Dalit politics in the north has done is, in some ways, it has done some of the work that movements did in the south, which is to say that things which Dalits could not imagine, could not do. The gap between Dalits, even in terms of just practices in day-to-day living, that gap between Dalits and other groups has begun to diminish. And some of your own work, Shyam, points to that. And as this, if you want to sort of say, some of this extremely sort of, tilted playing field is becoming more level, two things could have happened. Class politics could have benefited from it, as caste differences not disappear but shrink. But also religious politics or Hindutva politics could have benefited from it, because it makes it easier for them to build coalitions, to bring people in from different groups. And as it turns out, because they're better organized, they have done a far better job of taking advantage of shrinking caste differences. That's one way of looking at it. And in some ways, as BSPs, I completely, we have to acknowledge the constraints that BSP had, even as a governing party. You're absolutely right. But on security also, I think the security aspect is interesting, because in some ways, when the party or its MLAs or have been in power, there is some influence that they have over the state machinery, without a doubt. But then a lot of times the party has not been in power. There are only, majority of this period, if you see between 1990 and 2014, the party has not been in power. And what happens when it's not in power? Right? So that's the point I'm sort of talking about, which is, do you want to sort of, just rely on those periods? But I think the other side of the story is also needs to be looked at, which is that under lower caste politics, because of lower caste politics, because that assertion, the average Dalit, the average lower caste in these states is far less tolerant of bullying, of disrespect, than was the case earlier. There's more assertion even at in a day-to-day level. So which again is a noteworthy achievement.
Any more questions, especially from the younger crowd? Not that you guys are not young, but like, I want to give a last word to some young person or dipping a woman, Ilika or someone. Some of you should ask one question. Let not Amit walk freely.
That's true.
Should
Yes.
be tainted for what we have done.
Yes.
One of those undergrads.
Any question?
I have a.
If
they don't have
you
any,
want to
then
join the young Yes, sir, please.
My name is Disha. I'm pursuing PhD Sociology JNU. So one of my friend was doing caste-based movement, study of caste-based movement in Meerut district, in areas around Meerut city, villages mainly. And he then told me, he wrote about also in his MPhil, that Jatavs of this Meerut district, not exactly district, but the villages near the city, are voting for BJP. So he asked them, why are you voting for BJP? I mean, you people are famous for voting for BSP. And they said, look, हम लोग हिंदू हैं इंडिया में, भारत में, और हम लोग जाटव हैं उत्तर प्रदेश में. So how do all these your interviews etc. Scheduled castes look upon themselves as, or portray themselves as Hindus in certain political situation, and scheduled castes in some other political situation? A very strategic way of managing, which happens also with Hindu OBCs. They become Hindus and voting for BJP, and then voting for lower caste parties in state assemblies.
Is that our question?
No.
I think that's a fascinating observation. This is also the region that I worked in. Interestingly, I should just also point out that Western UP is actually one region in UP which does see a fair amount of, even prior to independence, social mobilization. But let me cut to the question which is sort of you asked, which is that, how do you... So, ask yourself the other question. Where is this discourse coming from? And this is exactly how Dalit party workers who would be working for the BJP, how they will talk to their members in their own locality, in their own village, among their own jati. This is not a discourse which is, which can be transmitted by an outsider. हम उत्तर प्रदेश में दलित हैं, हम हिंदू हैं इंडिया में, भारत में. This is, so this discourse is created by the party, but its translation, its transmission is very much done from within the community. And in some ways, it's a strategic adoption of an identity, maybe for the national election. But this is a party which is at ascendant. If you look at, and I find this quite fascinating when we think about Muslim politics also, which we've been thinking about since morning, which is, you go back, your own work shows that 10% vote share among Dalits, 25 in 2014, now standing at about 34% nationwide. Dalits and the BJP, traditionally have not been friends. BJP has had a very clear position on reservations. Dalits have had a serious antagonistic sort of relationship with the BJP, and things have changed. And there is, if you look at how Narendra Modi how he frequently talks about Ambedkar, the programs that this government has undertaken, compare it to what other BJP governments have done in the past, there is a clear effort to expand the party's social base. And this, the example that you just gave is a part of that multi-pronged strategy.
I think, can I come?
Yes, please.
Beyond propaganda and mobilization, there's also a structural process whereby these communities are released from relational constraints of being committed to the upper caste in the village. So rural fragmentation is very critical. That explains these kinds of possible choices that members of communities make even when they are marginalized. They remain marginalized, but their marginalization is more of a kind of quantitative in nature, economic in nature, and less so in structural, relational in nature, right? So that's where I think they realize that they are marginalized, they need BSP, they know that they will not pursue our agenda, but they also invest themselves in larger national identity, and that's where propaganda becomes very useful. So these are the package of identities that we build. Second, I think identity politics is largely representational, and it's not ideological by nature, right? To begin with, also when BSP is mobilizing Dalit, it is only asking for representation. It's not asking for ideological systems of the old kind of classical Marxist transformation that will have a different type of society. So I think what you were saying earlier is absolutely right. So they don't have a larger vision of an alternative society. I think that is something which all identity parties suffer from. Identity-based groups suffer. They're basically asking for representation, and that representation could be in any system. Now that BJP is normalized state system, that's where they would seek representation in. At the individual level as well as at group level and community level. So it's an instrumental negotiation. But at the same time also I think there is a structural transformation where different kinds of identity packages become available and they make choices.
And I think some of this transformation happened much earlier in Tamil Nadu. Yeah.
In you.
Yeah.
The whole dissociation that caste and occupation happens, that we begin to kind of, also the patronage structures decline, the whole
Completely.
kind of land relation, they completely, they are loosened up.
Yeah.
Now, nobody works on land. I mean, all these Dalits, they don't work on land as laborers or attached laborers. They are loose, they are footloose laborers, there's no labor available on agriculture.
And in some ways, these structural changes are required for you to be, for a group to be able to mobilize itself. Self-mobilization requires this kind of release. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you very much.
And Shah Babu and everyone for coming. This was a great day for us. We had 9:30 to 6.
Excellent.
Congratulations, Amit, once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Meeting you also.
Absolutely.
Pleasure is all mine.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, sir, for coming.